Hello and welcome back to Pop Culture Graveyard. I'm your host Hollis, and today I'm going to talk about one of my all-time favorite bands. This is a beginner's guide to Joy Division. Welcome back. How awesome was that intro? Thank you, Stevie C. Before they were Joy Division, they were a little band called Warsaw, founded in Manchester in 1976. The boys who would become Joy Division were playing a much more ragged version of music. This is the primordial sludge from which Joy Division emerges. Ian had yet to find his distinctive voice, yet all of the other elements are kind of in there. Bernard's wailing guitar, Stephen's rock-solid drumming, Peter Hook's wonderful high-pitched bass, very melodic, and it's all laying a solid foundation for Ian's foreboding, brilliantly crafted lyrics. Pressings of these sessions, these are aborted RCA sessions when it looked like they were going to get signed by RCA. And they did all the songs they have, and it's worth owning due to some of my favorite Warsaw songs, such as Failures, No Love Lost, and The Drawback. Also of note are fascinatingly ragged versions of early songs, such as Inside the Line, At a Later Date, and The Kill. But the pressing qualities vary on this. So it's basically a bootleg of a bootleg of a CD of a needle drop of a bootleg. So if that makes sense to you, if that sounds really good to you, seek it out. You can find it on CD, or you can download the MP3s, but the pressing quality really varies on those, and some of them, they mess with them a little too much and they're compressed and stuff. If you want to look for a good vinyl pressing, I suggest you seek out one that's got a good rep. This one I got in 2007, but as I say, the quality varies, so hopefully you find a good one. And then here we are, the album that started it all, Unknown Pleasures, and an iconic cover that launched a million t-shirts. This stunning debut captures the band with icy accuracy. From the opening tones of Disorder to the final dissonant breakdown of I Remember Nothing, the quality on this album does not let up. The album, it sounds like the future without leaving the listener behind. I don't know how they did that. There were great songs on here. She's Lost Control. If you're not a Joy Division fan, after hearing She's Lost Control, I don't think they're the band for you. Everything. Interzone, Disorder. It's a fantastic album. They have a visionary lyricist and frontman, one of the most compelling frontmen to watch in all of music at the time or ever. He was writing basically really brilliant poetry that was set to music, and if there's anything about all the bands I love, it's brilliant lyrics. Whether it's the Pixies or whether it's Lou Reed or David Bowie, it's brilliant lyrics that set a band apart for me. And Joy Division definitely had that. Quick note on the pressing. This is the 1980 US release with the smooth cover. It's the first US release, as far as I know. The releases of Joy Division, it's kind of a murky area when it comes to what was exactly the first release or the second. Inside of the matrix, which is the runout grooves, it says, I've been looking for a guide, is scrawled into it. So that's how you know if you have a 1980 US release, and if it has a smooth cover. Also, when I hold this album up to a bright light, or put a bright light behind it, it's translucent. So that's another thing to look for if you're looking for an original US copy. Punchy and crisp. It's just a really good pressing. I love this album so much, though, that of course I have the British pressing. This one has a textured sleeve. It is the first UK pressing in 1979. It is more of a raw sound to the US one, a little bit more raw, but very distinctive, still a pristine production. On the runout groups of this, it says a Porky prime cut. That is a reference to George Peckham, who cut the lacquer on this. The lacquer is the metal imprint upon which the wax is poured, and that's how they make a record. And George Peckham is a legend. Porky prime cuts include Buzzcocks' Singles Going Steady is a Porky cut, Electric Warrior by T-Rex. The lacquer makes a big difference. So the Porky cuts are the ones that are really in demand. I also have this later Townhouse pressing. When I say later, it's also from 1980. It's the second UK pressing. It says Townhouse on the matrix. Townhouse is the pressing plant that Factory Records, who put out all the Joy Division stuff, owned the stake in. This is from a second lacquer, and the sound on this is very clean and dynamic. Some people swear by the German release in 1980, say that's the best sound. And the German release is also the pressing that all the Joy Division surviving band members have. Those are the copies they were given at the time of release. So they have a very good sound. So Joy Division is touring. They're doing well. The sessions for the new album are finished. It's some of their best work. They're all very happy about it. They're about to go on a tour of America, and Ian Curtis kills himself. 2 months after Ian kills himself, they release Closer, which happens to have a tune on the front cover. I can't think of a better album to have as the soundtrack for what we're living through right now. Songs like Isolation, Colony, and A Means to an End, they still retain their impact today. Heart and Soul is on here, another great song. This is viewed as Joy Division's masterpiece, and we wonder what might have been. For a band as influential as Joy Division, to only have a career with 2 albums, I'll put that 2-album career up against most artists' 10-album careers. On No Pleasures and Closer. That's a pretty formidable career. Everything that comes after this is simply to fill a need of collectors who desperately want more from the band. Which brings us to Still. This collection of outtakes and leftovers from the Unknown Pleasures years was primarily released to combat the bootleggers and capitalize on the resurgence of interest in the band. It also includes the band's very last live concert. Although Ian's vocals go in and out depending on the track, the band is solid throughout. There are absolutely sizzling versions of Dead Souls, Isolation, and New Dawn Fades. But the real historical artifact of this collection is hearing the band perform Ceremony, which would later be recorded by New Order. Hearing Ian's vocals, such as they are on the track, you get a little glimpse of what might have been. It's called the Hessian hardback cover with ribbons. This is the way it was put out. But the whole thing, all 2 LPs worth of it, is, pretty much necessary if you're a Joy Division completist. So as I said, Still contains their last ever gig in Birmingham in April of 1980. But for my money, this is the best sounding concert of Joy Division live. This is December of 79 in Paris. Les Bains Douches. I know I pronounced that wrong. Anyway, it's got a killer set list. Ian is in great voice throughout. It's got great songs like Disorder, Shadow Play, Transmission, and Love Will Tear Us Apart. This live concert was first made available on 2 different vinyl volumes, though you should be aware that the first volume is All You Need. That's the actual one from Paris, which is from the soundboard. It was used as a French radio transmission, so it's of the highest quality. Volume 2 was actually taken from 2 different concerts in the Netherlands, which has much lower sound quality. So this only has 9 tracks on it, 9 tracks from the Paris concert, and it's fantastic. It's on red vinyl. This is an Italian pressing, but there are many pressings worth holding on to, with the exception of a couple of the CD ones, which actually fade the tracks. I guess to save time or something, but it's very annoying. So the sound quality on this is stellar. It's fantastic. This is the live document that you want of Joy Division in their prime. For a lot of you, you'll probably only need Substance. If you kind of like some Joy Division songs. If you're a big New Order fan and you're like, you know what, I should have some Joy Division in my collection, this is fine. It's a 1988 collection. It followed a year after New Order put out their Substance. This has choice cuts from the band, all the way from their early Warsaw days, the Ideal for Living EP, all the way up through Love Will Tear Us Apart. Substance helped the band gain a whole new generation of fans. Given that Joy Division was always ahead of their time, songs such as Autosuggestion, Incubation, Digital, they all still sounded as cutting edge as ever. There's a song on here, Dead Souls, which is a fantastic song. I believe they used it in the movie The Crow. It's actually now available as a 2-disc edition from Rhino Records. It's remastered and it's got bonus tracks. I'll put the link below in the description for you. But this has always done me well. You know, their big hit, if you just want to have a really hot single for your collection, Love Will Tear Us Apart. This one's, the B-side is Transmission. And it was put out by Cleopatra Records. Really cool green vinyl edition. And also cool, this still has the sticker from when I got it at Other Music. But these are alternate versions mastered from the Martin Hannett tapes in 1980. And it's fantastic quality. The sound is fantastic. Martin Hannett produced all of Joy Division's stuff. And the band members, especially Bernard Sumner, the guitarist, and Peter Hook, the bass player, they hated Martin Hannett's work on Unknown Pleasures. Yet they worked with him from then on, even when he was driving them crazy during Closer and Hooky was screaming at him, like, you're ruining the sound. They kept him around because he was a genius. And he was capturing stuff that they probably didn't even understand at the time. If you just want to have the story of Joy Division told to you, Control documents the band's rise to prominence amid Ian's mounting marital and physical problems. The incidental music for the film was done by New Order, although all the music of Joy Division live in their concert scenes is performed by the actors playing Joy Division themselves, and they do a brilliant job. This is that rarest of musical biographies, one which actually adds to the mystique of its subject. Featuring brilliant performances, especially by Sam Riley as Ian, and it's directed by long-term Joy Division photographer Anton Corbin. You can even view full versions of the live songs on the DVD. They're all strung together in the DVD extras. But this solemn yet dynamic film is a fitting tribute to Ian Curtis and a band that almost had it all. Thanks for joining me this week. Be sure to click more below in the description so that you can get all the links to all this music. And I hope I turned somebody on to Joy Division, one of my all-time favorite bands. See you next week with more music on Pop Culture Graveyard.